Is anyone there? Just say something in the chat box if you can hear me. Who's here? I'm so curious. I see that there are two people here, but no one said anything yet. So please let me know. Hey, awesome. Welcome. Now tell me, how do I say that? Walpurian music? Is that right? Am I wrong? Please help me out. Let me know if you can hear me. All right, we've got three people in here, I see, but only one. Oh, two people are in the music. Awesome. Audio loud and clear. Thank you so much, Joshua Swan. All right. Wow, that's 2 out of 3. 4 people have checked in. 2 people are here. I'm going to just give it a few more minutes. Hey, Colby, welcome. Thank you for joining my first live stream. Please be super patient with me. I have no idea what I'm doing. How's everyone doing today? Oh, we've got 7 in the live stream. Thank you, everyone, for hitting the thumbs up. I really appreciate that. It definitely pushes the stream out to other subscribers. So let's see. Hey, thanks so much, Joshua. I appreciate that. We're just going to give it a couple more minutes as people trickle in. I know it's an odd hour for a lot of folks. Most of the East Coast people are probably asleep or going to sleep in the US. Europeans are slowly waking up. It's probably 6 something in the morning there. And but I've got the West Coasters, I hope. So how's everyone? And I know that you saw the topic for the live stream, but please go ahead in the chat box and just let me know if there are other things that you'd like me to talk about with you today. This is really your live stream more than anything, so please let me know. We've got 9 people in the house and 5 people have already hit the thumbs up button. Thank you. Bright and sunny for me. Awesome, Dane. Well, where I am right now, there's a tropical storm, and it just let up on the rain. But I thought it's been downpouring all night and all morning. But I thought it'd be worth getting online and saying hi to everyone and just checking in. So please, in the chat box, let me know what you would like me to discuss other than the topic that I put on the title. Anything in addition to that? We've got 10 people in the stream. I look forward to seeing some comments here in the chat box before we get started. I'm going to give it just 1 or 2 more minutes and we'll get going. So I'm curious, for those of you who are here, how did you find my channel and what kept you here? I'm very, very curious. What videos drew you in and resonate with you the most? I found, thanks, Colby. Yeah, I found you. I guess that's how it works with the amazing algorithm. That's fantastic. Okay, we've got 14 people here. A lot of lurkers who don't want to share anything in the chat box, which is fine. I'm going to give it 1 more minute. Hey, Christian, welcome. You like the topics about minimalism. Awesome. Hey, Happy Coder. I'm glad YouTube pushed my video your way. Well, Pyrian, thank you so much. Best discoveries in months. I appreciate that. And you said I had some serious life wisdom, but I have to say it was whatever I have is very hard earned. Unfortunately, but fortunately, I guess. Mukti, welcome. Okay, so let's get started. It's been about 5 minutes. There are 16 people here. Um, and I just wanted to say hi from Southeast Asia, first of all. Now, a lot of you have seen my recent videos, and you're probably wondering where I am. That actually comes out in Sunday's video, so I'm not going to totally reveal it. As you can tell, I'm in a studio apartment here, so you can see the kitchen right behind me. I've rented several apartments in this country, well, in a specific city, and I am trying out different neighborhoods. So I'm not really hanging my hat anywhere just yet until I get a vibe for the place. And we'll go from there. Hey, SoCal, welcome. Thank you for the compliment. Dane, you liked the Indonesian video I made? Awesome. Steve, welcome. Yeah, those are bars in the window. I'm not in a jail. A lot of bigger buildings tend to have these, well, not bigger, the smaller buildings, but that have balconies and stuff like that tend to have bars. I've noticed that. It's kind of bizarre. They don't show you those in the pictures on Airbnb when you rent a place, but the apartment's actually quite nice. The good news is that I'm in a place where I don't need to be spending a lot of time indoors. Hey everyone, welcome. We've already got 22 people here, and thank you to the 7 of you who have already tapped that thumbs up button. I appreciate it. I know, I love it. That's so funny. I don't know how to make people a moderator. That I'm going to learn after I do this stream. I can moderate for now, but thank you. If you see anything, if you see any spam that you'd like me to get rid of, please just notify me in capital letters. Just say TMD, and then I will go ahead and remove it. So let's see. Random YouTube recommendations. That's how you found me as well. Okay, awesome. The happy coder says the bars are to protect me from monkeys. Actually, I will say this. When I lived in Bali, I lived very close to the monkey forest in Ubud, and there was a house just on the backside of the monkey forest, and the monkeys thought it was the most hilarious thing to go onto the roof of that house. And it was a house that was often rented out to foreigners, and the monkeys right around sunrise would go to this house and start jumping on the roof and banging on it. And I think they knew that they drove the people crazy, because eventually that house could never be rented out again. They would often try, the monkeys would try to break into that house too. It was really quite funny. I mean, it's sad but funny. And I lived down the street, and then, in a family, a Balinese family compound, so I didn't have that experience. So anyway, thank you for making me laugh. It made me think of the monkey forest in Ubud, Bali. Oh, thank you very much, Joshua Swan. That really does support the channel. I really appreciate that. Yes, the ads are there to keep me housed and fed. So thank you very much. I appreciate it. So there are 20 of you here, and I'm just going to get started. I just wanted to say that first and foremost, I noticed that a lot of people are contemplating changes in their life right now, and they are uncertain but still plotting. And I just wanted to use this chat and this live stream as an opportunity to go ahead and talk about making changes and how I go about making changes. First and foremost, as some of you have already discussed here in the chat box, minimalism is something that's really important. And to me, I'm not saying it should be important to everyone, but the less you own, quite frankly, the easier it is, the more flexible you are in life. You know, from the time I decided to leave my job in the United States to when I actually left was 3.5 weeks. Well, it was technically 3 weeks because I was pondering it for 3 days instead of waiting for my contract to end at my job because of health issues. And with the encouragement of my parents, particularly my dad and my stepmother, and my mother was a big support as well, but it was actually my dad and my stepmother who were really rooting for me to leave my job sooner rather than later so that I could focus on my health. It took me 3 weeks. So it was like 3 days of conversations with my mom, my dad, and my stepmother, and then 3 weeks from the day I left was the day I gave notice to at my job, and then I was in Southeast Asia. So if I had a ton of stuff, I wouldn't have been able to do that. So I just want to put it out there that minimalism has given me so much flexibility in life that I've been able to make changes because of it. Now I'll keep going on that, but I want to say hi. There are more people who have entered the chat. Dane, welcome. BJ, hey to you in Oregon. Miss Underhill, welcome. Finger Lakes, New York. Beautiful place. Actually, Oregon's beautiful too. I love Oregon, particularly out. Actually, I've been to a lot of places in Oregon, but I really love the eastern half of the state and the mountains. Colby, oh, I'm glad it feels like group therapy. Awesome. Adrian, welcome from Montana. Oh, so awesome. Robbie, greetings from Texas. Thank you so much. Anyone who's here, if you're happy to be here, please, tap that thumbs up button, the like button. It really helps the chat. Oh my gosh. Tacitus, we've got you all the way from Norway. Thank you. I love it. You're awake early. That's awesome. I'm an early bird too. Thank you, SoCal. I share all of this in hopes that it helps other people make changes in their lives and just to move in the direction of, you know, your own inner compass. That's really what it's about, to be honest. It's really what it's about. You know, in terms of making changes, I will say this. Shelly, welcome from San Diego. Steve, San Antonio, Texas. Sylvia from NorCal. Oh my gosh, sorry. I keep saying hi to because people are trickling in. I just wanted to say that, from a very young age, now some of us are fortunate enough to have had parents that have supported us and saw who we were from a very young age and supported that and encouraged that growth. Now, not all of us were that lucky. So I just want to put it out there that yes, I do acknowledge that there are some phenomenal parents out there who have paved a beautiful path for their children as like a takeoff strip at an airport. And I can't think of the proper word. You think after all these years of traveling, I would be able to come up with that quite quickly, but I can't. Airstrip. Anyway, society in general has done everything possible to just distract us from who we are and to get us to look outside ourselves. Now, oh, and hey, Mina from Minnesota, I just want to let you know I'm going to go on a talking spree for a bit and then we'll do Q&A. So if I don't see you, hello, Captain. Greetings to you in Wisconsin. If I don't say hi, I will in the Q&A section of the video, but I am going to just keep going. Okay, thank you so much. And I appreciate you hitting the like button. I really do. Thank you. So what I've noticed is that everything in civilization is constructed in a way that gets us to look outside of ourselves. We are told that everything we should strive for in life and everything that we should be is out here. And that inherently felt very wrong to me at a young age because everything I was being told was was completely opposite of what resonated with me and what interested me. You know, first of all, I'm going to put it out there. I'm not a conventional woman in the sense that in modern day sense of developed nations. I don't own makeup. I don't wear it. I haven't owned. I think the last bit of makeup I owned was probably in my early 30s, and it was a colored lip gloss. It wasn't an actual lipstick. It was just a tinted lip gloss. I'm serious. Like, um, I I think the last time I put on a pair of earrings was to go to a wedding, maybe 7, 8 years ago, and that's it. I probably only own 4 or 5 pairs, and, uh, that's just, that's just me. I also, as I mentioned, I don't like shopping. So and I was like this as a little kid. Actually, I was a tomboy, I'd say, until I was about 13 or 14. Once I hit that age, then I just went to, like, casual beach clothes, t-shirt and board shorts, and that's it. I wasn't interested in a lot of that stuff. Now, when I got into my 20s, I got really distracted, and I was wearing a lot of designer clothes. I had some high-end clients, and I felt like I needed to dress that way to be part of that sort of circle of people, or to fit in, so that, I was part of the world that my clients inhabited, or at least I looked that way. I certainly didn't have the money. I was in recruitment at that time, and I wasn't pursuing it as a career. It was just something I was curious about. And I said, I'm going to do this for a while and see if I like it. And, after a few years, I decided it wasn't for me. And it was also, during a time when the world was very tumultuous, not like it is now, but fairly tumultuous. And recruiting was not the best industry to be in at that time. And I got to the point where I really felt like I was losing my way, and I was losing connection with myself. And I went back to me. So I left that world, and I started traveling a lot again. And eventually I landed myself in South Korea, and I started teaching. And that felt so much better. It connected, like, in my heart center. It resonated with me as a person. And I was so glad that I made that change. And what's quite interesting is that I traveled for a while, but within less than a month, maybe it was a month and a half, actually, I had applied to teaching jobs and in South Korea, and I was there. I think it was 6 weeks. Yes. I was there within 6 weeks of applying to jobs, and I had a job and an apartment waiting for me. And it wasn't always the easiest type of work, but it resonated with me. It felt true to me. But I had been living in a place and surrounded by people, and I was letting all of their input influence me. And I think that that's natural. And if you're in that place, or you've ever been in that place, like, don't judge yourself at all. It's totally normal. And I went back to I like to be presentable, so I buy classic clothes that are timeless, not a lot of branding or anything like that. They're plain, and they will be presentable at any era, okay? And I tell you this sort of stream of changes just to point out that how easily we are swayed by the people we are around, by whether that be personally, romantically, or professionally, and how we staying true to our inner compass, our true north, is actually very challenging. And I don't think enough people give themselves credit for the strength they have in staying true to themselves, o- or even giving themselves grace for, you know, when you lose track of who you are, or you get distracted and you veer off onto a path that maybe isn't in alignment with yourself. Okay, so I say all of that to get back to making changes in your life. When you get very clear, and you know exactly how badly something doesn't feel right, that is the time to start making changes. Your body will tell you that this is not the right thing for you. And I use my body as a guide a lot of the time. Now, Wow, thank you so much. I just noticed we have 46 people here and 22 of you have already tapped the thumbs up. Thank you so much. It really helps the channel and get this live stream out to people who may want to join it. So thank you very much. Um, Now, people are asking about finding jobs abroad, transitioning abroad. First and foremost, I wanted to say that if you want to go abroad, depending on if you are a native English speaker, the easiest thing to do is to get a job teaching English. Now, if you have a college degree, you can get a TEFL certification online, and that's TEFEL. I'll write that in the chat box, TEFL certification. Usually, you just need a couple of recommendations. For South Korea, China, Japan, they're more strict. So they are going to require your diploma. You're going to have to get it. You're either going to have to get an apostille or an authentication. I can do a separate live stream on all of that. I don't know what Vietnam is. I don't know what other Southeast Asian countries require. I know that you can teach in the Middle East, but I don't know anything about it. Another thing is if you happen to have a master's degree in education, or you have an undergraduate degree in education, you're often able to get jobs at international schools. So I hope that helps. International schools are an amazing way to travel the world. I actually have a friend who's teaching in Brazil. She's been there for, I think, 6 or 7 years. And she has lived in 5 other countries, I think it is, by teaching at international schools. And again, this would have to be something I would do a separate live stream on, but I want you to know that it's possible. Also, I'd like you to know that it's possible to make enough money to live abroad on YouTube income. Even though I brought savings with me, I am able to live comfortably in the Southeast Asian country that I'm in, which the reveal is coming in my next video on Sunday, so stay tuned, on my YouTube earnings, okay? That said, I did bring money, and I do not encourage anyone to leave home without having at least 6 months worth of income for the place you are going to move to. Just so you have that buffer, you need to have savings for an emergency. Although there is a gentleman, oh goodness, bear with me. I'm going to go find his name. There is a gentleman who, okay, let's see. I found his channel. Well, actually, his channel found me. It popped up in the live stream. This is his channel. His channel is, I put it in the chat, it's called Viewpoint Abroad. And he's very inspiring, or at least his story is inspiring. I've only watched a couple of his videos, but please, if you are thinking of making changes and going abroad is one of the things that you're considering doing, and you are a native English speaker, you might want to check out his channel. There is a video he recently put out about escaping poverty in the US by moving to China and teaching English. He's been there, I believe, almost 20 years, and his story is, he's very candid in that video, and he has become financially free as a result. He actually doesn't need to work anymore because of all of his independent income streams. So there is a possibility. Yes, teaching TOEFL is a little different, Alexi. TOEFL is an exam that students have to take, and not all countries will let you teach TOEFL classes. TEFL is TEFEL, and that's the certification I was mentioning. TOEFL is completely different. Again, it's an exam that the students have to take. And for example, in South Korea, it's illegal for foreigners to teach TOEFL classes. Drew, you know what? I'm going to put together all that information. I need to ask my friend about international schools. She gave me there's an online database where they post job listings for international schools. And I will let you know what that is in another live stream. I have to ask her. I don't remember because I've never actually found a job that way. But yeah, TOEFL, for example, is illegal in South Korea for foreigners to teach. Those jobs are strictly reserved for Koreans, and you do need extra training to teach that. It's not something you can just teach off the bat. You have to teach and tailor um, towards the specific test itself. Let's see. Please let me know in the chat if there's anything else you'd like me to talk about. I am going to keep going. So again, making changes, start with small changes so that you can take really big leaps. That's kind of my summary of it all. Now, if you are looking to make a change, I would say go ahead and start looking at the small things you could do, and then just start, and I would just jot them down. If you have an idea of what you'd like to do and what change you want to make, I would put that at the top, and then just and don't think about it too hard. Let it be a stream of consciousness and just start listing every single thing that you could do that would help you move in that direction. And that's just a really good way to show the universe, God, that you are serious about this and that you want to move in that direction. And then what I say is go ahead and pick one and start working on that. It doesn't have to be a major change. It could be a small change, but keep moving in that direction. And soon you will be at a point where you're like, wow, actually, maybe I don't need to do X, Y, and Z before I can make this change. You know, I was thinking that I had to wait till next year, when my contract was up, to make this change. I was going to, I'm super loyal to good employers. And if it weren't for a health situation, I would have never left. I would have stayed all the way till the end of my contract before leaving. And the idea of leaving, after talking with my family quite a bit, in the space of a few days, I went from anxious to I'm leaving. And that's really important, because sometimes we think that we have to do more stuff to prepare for the change than we actually do, when sometimes um, we we don't need to. Don't let perfect get in the way of good enough. And I think that's a big, big curse for a lot of people. You know, I think that's a major, major curse, is that we all stand in the way of each other. Thank you so much. I just noticed we have 42 people in here, and 34 of you have already given this a thumbs up. Thank you. Yes, Joshua, absolutely. We let perfection get in the way of good enough all the time. And I I think that's it. I am guilty of this so frequently, and it really does lead to paralysis, and I don't mean that literally, just, metaphorically speaking, in terms of our lives, and it really holds us back, when most of the things that we honestly believe we need to do, we don't. We really don't. What I noticed is, um, when I made the decision to leave, lots of things fell into place. Lots of things. Doors just started opening wide up. And I'll give you some examples. First of all, I had a car, and I thought I had to sell that car. Okay. So I went on this huge mission to try to sell the car, when it turns out I actually had a family member who wanted to buy a new car, and they just offered to take over my payments on my car. And there's not much left on it, which is great. And if I don't go back to the States within the next couple years, I'm going to just bequeath the car to them, because I won't have any need for it. Only on the condition that when I visit, I get to drive it too. So that door opened wide up. So it freed me of a car payment, but it was a total win-win. It gave a family member a vehicle that they so very much needed, and and I know that they'll take care of it. So that's really, really cool. And I just, so that's one example. Another is that one of my friends, I have a bunch of like health, not a bunch. Okay. When I say a bunch, it's very relative to me, because I don't own tons of stuff. But I have a bunch of health related, equipment. I have like a near red, infrared light, and that's really great for health, and it's phenomenal. I actually use it if I ever have aches and pains, and it just totally makes it go away. Anyway, and a juicer and all these other things, and friends just started buying things off me immediately. It was really fantastic. Um, so again, started moving in the direction of where I wanted that change to be and what that change was going to give me, and the doors to make it easier for me started happening. So I will say, now you're going to laugh. Okay. This is me being honest here. On my last day, I was taking care of some like paperwork stuff and I needed to send it off. And part of that was to include a copy of my ID. And I did. And then I realized that in the process of doing that and making a copy of said ID, that I lost it. Yeah, I don't know where it went or where it was. But that meant I had to go to the Department of Motor Vehicles and get a new license and have it printed, have it do the same day printing, which was essentially within an hour of me presenting myself and requesting it. But it's a good thing I left for the airport 5 hours earlier than I needed to, because I basically didn't want to drive at night in the city to get to the airport. So I left really, really early. And if I didn't, I would have left the country without your driver's license. And, I do plan on traveling around Southeast Asia. And I will say that your international driver's permit that I got through AAA is not valid unless you also have your United States driver's license to show with it. So that's why I needed my driver's license. That was my one mishap. That felt like, oh my goodness, the change is almost here. I'm almost on the airplane, and darn it, where is my driver's license? So I will say that not all the doors opened, but everything worked out. So yeah, and there's more on the driver's license fiasco, but I'll get back to that in another video after you find out where I am. Drew, we're not going to talk about that right now, about the international school. I'm not going to email, but I will talk about it in a separate live stream. And the questions about moving abroad and how much money you need and how to plan financially, I can't answer that question because every country is different. What I will say is, oh, how am I going to say this? Whatever you think you need, I would have a little extra for emergencies. Now, when I reveal where I am, I will certainly get into what cost of living is here, just to give you an idea. And then I can give you an idea about neighboring countries as well. So I'm not going to totally get into that. I do want to focus on making changes first, and we will do a separate moving abroad live stream. Joshua, you're absolutely right. The terrible thing is that most people cannot understand what is happening to themselves, the stagnation. They don't possess the language to unlock that door. I'm speaking out for so many. Thank you. That's very kind, Joshua. I think you're absolutely right there. A lot of people sense that something's not right. They know that they don't feel at peace. And that's, but it's very difficult to go ahead and make that change. Part of it is because of the people around them, their responsibilities, their circumstances. We often believe that we have to be a certain way and a certain person for those in our lives. And in fact, we would serve everyone better by, you know, being true to ourselves. There's a wonderful man, and his name is Dan Price. And I'm actually going to pull up, bear with me, I'm going to pull up, there's actually, before I get into it, his name is Dan Price. He actually lives in the mountains of Oregon. And there was a wonderful British documentary done on him many years ago. It used to be available online, and the production company, and it was, you had to have the password to access it. But I believe the British, let me just see if it's The British company that had it took it down from what I last discovered. But let's see. I'm gonna just hang tight, everyone. I'm not going anywhere. Uh, let's see. Oh, it looks like it might still be there, or they put it back up. Hold on. Great news, everyone. It is there. Okay, I'm going to tell you a brief story about Dan Price. And this is, we're not talking about the uh, credit card processing company CEO guy. We are talking about this awesome man. And Dan Price is one of the most inspiring people to realize his inner pain and his stagnation and how he wasn't living true to himself, and he made a lot of very difficult decisions that ended up leading to divorce and the sort of breakup of his family. But he became his most at peace and authentic self. Recently in a video that was done on him, I think he said he's 65 or 64, and he's the happiest he's ever been in his entire life. And the man lives such a beautiful, beautiful life. And he is so close with his children, and he has a very good friendship with his ex-wife, which I think is marvelous. Like, they're still best friends. And I I really do believe that a lot of people fear change because they are busy being immensely concerned about others. And there's nothing wrong with that. That just shows that you have a really good heart and that you're compassionate. But in my experience, when we are absolutely true to ourselves, we become better people for those in our lives. And those relationships get enhanced and they become richer, deeper. So, for the people who get really angry about it and never get over it, those people are not your true friends. They don't really love you. So, if that is what's getting in the way of you making a change, please, please, please think about that deeply. Think about it, because it's really, it's your life, and there is no one or nowhere outside of yourself that tells you need to sacrifice yourself. Okay, sure, everything outside yourself says you need to sacrifice what you want and who you are for those around you and for the betterment of society. But inside, the only person forcing you to adhere to that is you. So please. And if you want some inspiration, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to post this link here to Dan Price's life. Okay, everyone, if you want to grab that, here it goes. I'm posting the link. You do need a password. And the password is, let me get the password for you. Hang tight. The password is pictures. Okay, so go ahead and bookmark that. Joshua, I'm so glad you needed to hear this today. Everyone, Dan Price is one of the most inspirational and cool human beings. Seriously, I can't recommend his story enough. And then if you watch that video, there are a couple others that are on YouTube. I would not watch them first because they don't give his story with the full depth. And I'm looking for them right now, so hang tight. They don't give his full story with the kind of depth that this British documentary did. But let me just get it for you. So go ahead and bookmark that one and save the password. Now, bear with me if you hear the noise. I'm sorry. Here we go. This is the one to watch after that if you want. It leads you to the channel is Kirsten Dirkson's channel. She makes videos about people's cool houses and everything. And it's less about all of his life changes and more about his just lifestyle. But again, I would start with hers and then go to this. I mean, start with the British one and then go to this one. And then she's also made a recent update on his video. So you can check that out on her channel, but I am going to post the first one she did on him. I think it was like 11 years ago. And sorry, there is thunder. I don't know if you could hear that, but yeah, we have a tropical storm here. Drew, it's hard to say which country I like the most. I've been to several dozen countries, and I am currently now living in the seventh country that I've called home. So yeah. Anyway, that was my long commentary on making changes. Now, if you want to ask me questions to sort of point the conversation or just even ask about your own personal situations, I'm happy to do that. Go ahead and just, and Colby, thank you so much. Go ahead and just, you can add that in the chat section. Uruguay is cool. It's super mellow. Some people say it's boring, but I think it's awesome. You know, I don't need tons of loud clubs or anything of the sort. I like the beach. I like mellow. It's great. Steve, I'm not in jail. Other than the bars on the window, it's a pretty comfortable jail. Take your glasses off. Thank you for the laugh, Steve. These are my blue light blocking glasses. So I keep them on, even though I have a window cracked back here to get, full spectrum light in. I still wear them. Shoe recommendations, Colby, absolutely. So I don't know, Colby, if you or any of you have seen my video on books, and I can actually get that link for you just in case. And the reason I bring this up is because it's related to some of the books I have. The shoe question and books tie right in together. Hang tight. Okay. Thank you, Joshua. I'm so thrilled to hear that. Okay, Colby saw the video. I just posted the link to the books video. And in that video, I had some books that I used in my training that I did for posture and alignment. It's quite intense, but some of those books were actually in the bookcase. As I mentioned, a lot of the books are stored at a relative's house, but I did have a fraction of them in my apartment that I just moved out of. And two of them were about the fascia. Holy moly, thunder is rumbling. We have a tropical storm here, for those of you who didn't hear that earlier. One book was on the fascia and one was on the psoas, the psoas being the biggest muscle group in the body. And I have to say, shoes make a huge difference in your life. Shoes can transform it. So there are two recommendations I have. And if you plan on making life changes, having new shoes is actually very relevant. Two recommendations for shoes: zero drop. Zero drop means that and I'm going to just use my hand as a toe. These are our toes. Let's pretend, and then this is our heel. And zero drop means that the entire sole of the heel of the shoe, is of the same thickness. That the heel is not higher. Oh gosh, sorry, I'm not spatially oriented for this. So the heel is not higher than the toes. Okay. And the reason for this, and I'd like to explain it in the simplest terms I can. We live in a world where our bodies, we're leaning forward all the time. Everything that we do makes us crane forward. Okay. And when we are upright, we are using our psoas, which is our core muscles that people, when they talk about their core, they have no idea most of the time what they're talking about. They don't know which muscle they're talking about or muscle groups, and it's actually the psoas. And the psoas attaches from your hips and it attaches to the back of your spine and it's actually closer to your back, but it is your core. Okay. And when we are upright, we are using our core to hold us up. However, everything we do in life cranes us forward like this. And when you have shoes with heels that are higher than the toe, that is also encouraging to crane you forward. And I explain it to folks why such shoes are bad in the simplest way possible. Wearing shoes with heels higher than the toe is like walking downhill all day, every day. Sure, it's only a tiny bit, but think about that cumulatively, day in, day out, month in, month out, year in, year out. It is not good for you. So, again, the first way that I choose shoes is zero drop shoes. The Happy Coder is asking for barefoot shoes. There are immense benefits to barefoot shoes. They are a preference. I will say that they are much better for alignment. If you do buy them, I recommend easing yourself into them. Very much so. They will transform the way you feel. And again, if you're making big changes, having good shoes to support you physically is going to make life easier during your day. So the second thing I look for in a shoe, and that I always shared with my clients, is to have a wide toe box. That means that how am I going to do this? The toe is not like, it's not narrow like this, but it's actually wider like that. And it lets your toes fan out. Okay. That's really important because our toes they're not one unit. Our socks, our socks are all shaped to treat our feet like it's one whole unit, but we have 5 toes, okay? And those toes are meant to be able to spread out because that helps support our spine and all of the natural curvatures in our body. They're shock absorbers, and that's essential. You notice a lot of people have straight spines these days, and that's terrible for us. So, I could go on for hours and hours, and I'd like to do that in a more focused manner when it comes to health. But Colby, I hope that helps. 2 big reasons: great support by having a wide toe box and letting your toes fan out, and then zero drop shoes. Okay. Never have your heel higher than your toes. Make it an even sole. Okay. There is one brand that I have often pointed folks into. Zero drop is becoming more trendy, but I was doing this work a long time ago when there was only one company aside from barefoot shoes, and that is Altra. And I'll put that in the box. I am not sponsored by them. I have no affiliation with them other than the fact that I have bought their shoes for years. Altra, not you. Altra. And they are super, super popular among ultra marathon runners for this very reason. Okay. If you are running 100 miles, oh, it's downpouring today. Wow. If you are running 100 miles, which a lot of them do, of course, ultra marathons are 35 miles and above, but some of them are running even 200 plus miles. These people want support, they want protection, but they want shoes that are not going to injure them and cause them structural alignment issues. Ultra marathon runners, because of all of that impact, need the best quality shoes. And I have to say that Ultras are fantastic. They are not, any more expensive than Nikes or anything, but they are much better quality. My Ultras lasted, they always last a long time. I even walked the entire Camino in a pair of Ultras, and I was the only person I encountered who did not have blisters and feet problem the entire time. That's walking for 5 weeks over the Pyrenees in France and across Spain to the coast. I went to Santiago de Compostela and then to Finisterre, and I will credit that completely to the Ultras. Okay. Seriously, everyone else was wearing these hiking boots that were tight, small toe boxes laced up to the front of their shins. They were in so much pain. There was one woman from Australia who had a huge abscess on the back of her heels. like right above, like right on her Achilles area. It was so bad she had to go to the hospital. It was disgusting. Okay, so you can see that I'm very passionate about this. So if you want great shoes, zero drop, wide toe box, let your toes spread out. If you need to be wearing shoes and you can buy five finger toes, they're all over Amazon, the website, different websites. Injinji, I think, is the brand that I often buy. I'll type it again, not sponsored. I do wear regular socks as well, but I do a lot of my own posture and alignment exercises that keep my toes strong and able to separate. Jonathan, can we be language partner and friends? I'm sorry, I don't have time for it. Hey, Brian, welcome. Good to see you here. Brian is one of my awesome Patreon members. Thank you so much, Brian. So glad you can make it. Let's see. Steve Solis, I would happily do a conversation and even a full live stream on Ayn Rand. Um, have I known people who would fit into a character of Atlas Shrugged? That's a great question. I'll have to think about that. I would say that I know people with bits and pieces of the different characters, but I have to think if there is one person who fits in line with any of them. Colby, ex-skateboarder. He also recommends Ultras. Expensive but worth it. Yes. And I mean, there are a lot of shoes these days are super expensive as it is. So, you know, and they're great quality and they last. So at least I haven't bought a new pair in a little while, but they last in my experience. Let's see. Yeah, they have some wild colors. I know, Colby. They pick out some random color combos. Toe spacers do actually work. Yep, they do indeed. But the thing is that you can strengthen your toes quite a bit. And again, we're going to go back to the topic of making change in your life. And yes, but if you are making changes in your life and you want extra support, having great footwear makes a huge difference. I mean, I have to say I'm quite thrilled that I'm in a place where I can go barefoot a lot and just, you know, slip-ons, basically, you know, slippers, flip-flops, whatever you want to call them, thongs. That's Australian, but you know, the rest of us call thongs something else. Let's see. All right. So let's see. I wanted to talk about making changes and listening to inspiration and listening to the signs. Oh, let's see. Brian says something about shoes really quickly. In the 70s, we had earth shoes, negative toe and extra wide big toe. All right, interesting. Yeah, I don't know if you heard what I was talking about, zero drop, but extra wide big toe sounds really important. So I will say that when I was living in Bali, I want to talk about the importance of making changes and talk about how what I thought I should do actually turned out to be very different than what I needed to do. And what I needed to do turned out to be more amazing, I suspect. Um, so when I was living in Bali, and I want to say this because I know a lot of people on the channel are looking to make changes. And uh, I, I don't know, but I have a feeling that this information could be important. So when I was living in Bali, I was considering going to Australia. I have family in Australia. I would be able to work in Australia. It would take some finagling, but you know, like paperwork and stuff like that, but I would be able to. And so I went there and I went looking for, you know, potential work, potential places to live. And I was walking around and I thought, geez, I'm going to move here. This place looks really cool, but it didn't resonate with me. Nothing clicked, you know. I I was in Melbourne walking around thinking, there's got to be something more. And this is no insult to Melbourne, Australia. It's a very cool city. It was just that it didn't, felt like there was nothing there for me. And one day I was walking down the street, and I was in this neighborhood, and there was a sidewalk cafe up ahead of me, and I kind of, you have to walk through it and through all the sidewalk tables to keep going. And I did. And what I realized, I was looking around and I thought, oh my God. And right in the top of my head, I felt this like pressure. And I was listening, and everyone around me was speaking Greek. Okay. And I haven't talked about this on the channel, but I will say that I am Greek. Okay. I am Greek, 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 Greek in many ways, but not other ways. I'm very American in other ways. Um, and I have family in Greece. So as soon as I realized what I was hearing was Greek, I thought, Ella, which is like, come on in Greek. I said, this is where I need to be. And I had spent like, I think it was 6 or 7 days in Melbourne, and I was due back in Bali in 3 days. And uh, when I got back to Bali, I was gone within 2.5 weeks. Yeah, it was that quick. My family helped me find an apartment. They had 3 on the short list so that when I landed in Greece, I had 3 great apartments to look at, and I ended up taking the second one. It was fantastic, and it wasn't super expensive at that time. Athens now is unbelievable. I rented an apartment for the equivalent of like $400 back then, I think it was, and I'm speaking U.S. dollars. Hi, Andrea, or Andrea, excuse me. And it happened fast, and things really unfolded for me, and a lot of interesting things, occurred while I lived in Greece, and I really got to deepen my relationships with my family there, which was awesome. But I point out all of this, and I tell this story because, oh, good night, Alexi. I'm glad you were able to stop in. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. I tell this story for one reason only. Again, sometimes what we think we need is not actually what we need. And that sometimes our mind doesn't lead us necessarily in the direction that our soul and our spirit and our body need to go. And so if you are considering making a change, I ask that you be open to the signs, because signs and symbols are everywhere, and yet they're not at the same time. Don't read into everything, but when something clicks like it did with me, I had zero doubt in that moment that I needed to move to Greece. Zero. And I made that move immediately, and I never regretted it once. And it's that real knowing, that zero doubt knowing that you just have within the core of your being. And that's how you know you're making the right decision, in my experience. Maybe other people have different ways of knowing, but for me, it's that zero doubt feeling. So let's see, we've got people. Drew, I am not sure about anything FIFO in Australia. I don't even know what that is. Good night, Alexi. Stuart. Thank you so much, Stuart. I really appreciate your kind words. Um, there is definitely, like you said, there's more to life than what the system pushes us into. Blake's Basement. I love the song Hints. I don't know it, but I will look it up. Thank you. Is there anything that anyone else would like me to discuss? Please put it in the chat box. I'm happy to do so. We can talk about other things if it's not about making life changes. Otherwise, I will wrap up the live stream if no one has anything else they'd like to talk about. I shared everything I wanted to share, but I am happy to share more if you want to keep talking. So please let me know in the chat box. Otherwise, I will wrap it up. We will do more of these, I promise, now that I got the time and space to do this. I won't be in this apartment for too long. It's a great apartment minus the bars on the windows. Probably another 2-3 weeks. Let's see. Okay, the happy coder would like to hear more about the benefits of sun from my experience. Is it possibly one of the reasons why you're in traveling in Asia right now? Absolutely. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, thank you so much for asking. That is really important to the change that I made. Um, I would say that I was living in a place where there was very low UVA and UVB light for 6 months out of the year. In fact, for 6 months out of the year, there was almost no UVB light. And if any of you follow, Dr. Alexis Cowan, Dr. Jet Cruz, basically Dr. Jet Cruz being the leader of the mitochondrial health movement, the real one, the one that's the big one about natural sunlight and the importance of living in a more natural way. Um, Talks about how we have UV receptors in our eyes and how that's something that is never spoken about, and how UVA and UVB light has been demonized. Now, of course, too much UVB light can be detrimental, but we need a lot more of it than what we are told. And so those UVA and UVB receptors in our eyes are there to balance our hormones. Okay, so what he says is that you need to be grounding yourself at sunrise, bare feet on the earth, and no glasses. These are actually blue light blockers. And he talks about the problems of the presence of blue light without the presence of other light within that spectrum. Okay. You need full spectrum light. And again, that's going to be a whole separate live stream that we could do. But when you are grounding at sunrise, and, I really spend, this is absolutely happy coder, one of the biggest reasons I moved to Southeast Asia again, because I can be at the beach, I can walk to the beach, I can, I'm an early bird, so I'm up before sunrise every single day. I'm usually up by first light, to be honest. So I'm at the beach, walking barefoot in the water, like up to my ankles. And sometimes I'm even swimming and just, putting my feet on the bottom on the sand and watching the sunrise. That's what I'm doing now. I wasn't doing that in the mountains. It was too cold a lot of the time for my taste. And when the sunlight, the early morning sunlight, light right around sunrise, makes contact with those UV receptors in your eyes, UVA is, is available all day while the sun is up, and that is what hits your eyes first. And then UVB rises later. So like UVB here doesn't, the sun may rise at 5:45 in the morning, but UVB doesn't really kick in till say 7:30, 8 a.m., something thereabouts. And there's an app for this, which I'll point you in the direction of. I let the light make contact with my eyes. I've never worn sunglasses. I've owned two pairs in my entire life, two pairs, and I use them as headbands like this. They were expensive headbands, I got to admit. And also when I'm walking outside, I have glasses for reading distance, and I actually just wear them on the collar of my shirt, and I just pull them up and put them on when I need to make sure I'm walking in the right direction. I'm very photographic in terms of my memory, so I just stare at a map and then I leave the house and I pretty much know my way around. So yes, I can go more into that on another live stream, but yes, being able to be outside, grounding in warm weather and getting that natural light on my eyes is really important. It's one of the reasons I went totally freelance again too, because that way I can work in outdoor cafes. And so I'm not getting all that blue light from LED lights inside a building, my work environment. And I have the full spectrum of light that's, neutralizing the blue light. Let's see. I'm gonna get to more. Let's see. Great Gatsby. Do you think life ends when you reach 40? Absolutely not. I am over 40, and my life keeps getting better. I'm gonna say it right now. Um, I believe that when you're living your life and you're following your own inner compass and you are investing in yourself, and I don't mean that in the sort of toxic rah 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 self improvement type thing. I just mean when you pursue your own interests. Life just keeps getting better. As a result, I feel like I have a better relationship with myself. So the older I get, the closer to myself I feel. It's like peeling away, it's like peeling back the layers of an onion and getting to the core. So, and the core is where life sprouts in an onion, right? So think of it that way. Thank you for that question. I'm wishing you the best. You can definitely change your life. Tara, great quote. In order to manifest clarity, you have to be engaged. You cannot find clarity through thinking alone. Yep, interacting. Unless you're a monk in the mountains, or you're isolated in deep meditation. Otherwise, you do need to be engaged. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you're right, Tara. We do too much thinking sometimes. As I was saying, to make change, often we don't need to do as much as we think we do. We can take that leap a lot sooner. And I think part of us thinking we have to do so much stuff to make that change is partly due to fear, fear of the unknown. And it just pushes it out a little bit. Let's see what else. I don't know anything about that, Drew. I'm so sorry. Oh, sorry, Brian. Yeah, I kind of did this on I did this live stream on a bit of a whim. So I am going to promote and advertise the live streams more in advance. So yeah, thanks for being here, and look forward to seeing you in the future. All right, let's see. Stuart, I'm 27 and I feel as if God is undeniably pulling me forward in life to relinquish my apartment and step into the unknown one more time. Let go of the material, connect back to something higher, etc. Thoughts. Well, if you're feeling that, I would trust it. I would trust it. I'm curious as to what and where you feel you're being drawn towards. That's really interesting. But the fact that Stuart, the fact that you are in tune with that, and you have a really strong spiritual life, it seems, is really going to help you so much in life. And don't lose that. Stay connected with it. Okay. Let's see. Oh yes, happy coder. I am starting to get into that the topic of sun on Patreon. I am going to save a lot of the health material for Patreon for the time being, because I can go into a lot of depth there, but I will occasionally bring it up on YouTube. Oh, Andreas, thank you so much for being here. That's awesome. I know. I was thinking about all my friends in Europe and wondering if you all would be able to catch the live stream and all. I am going to try to live stream at different times. I totally, my timing excluded a lot of East Coasters, so I will try to change it up a bit. But thanks for being here, Andreas. Glad you're able to make it. Blake's Basement. Carl Jung said life begins at 40. I would say, yeah, I really came into my own in my late 30s and 40s. So, yeah. Let's see. Transit to Freedom. An 88-year-old man once wrote a card saying it only gets better. That's amazing. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Let's see. Awesome, Brian. I hope you sleep well. Thanks for being here. Blake's Basement. What made me buy the plane ticket? I mean, was there a moment of clarity brought on by something? You know, that's really an interesting it's really an interesting question. I'm trying to think about it. It wasn't it wasn't a particular event or that anything happened in particular. It was just like that moment in Australia. And by the way, everyone, I meant to really introduce myself in this live stream. My name is Jasmine. I'm so happy to meet you all. I know lots of your names, and you didn't know mine. And I was thinking about that. I was like, I really need to introduce myself to these wonderful humans. So I apologize for my bad manners. All right, Steve, have a good night. Thanks for being here and thanks for making me laugh. Um, as I was saying, it was that moment in Australia that made me realize I needed to move to Greece. It was like the idea just kind of dropped into my head and I felt it in my, listening, hearing all those Greek people laughing and talking loudly and all that life and energy immediately just settled that moment of knowing in for me. Now, when it was this move, I have to say it was just there was a feeling like I can't do this anymore. I can't keep, you know, I think it was the reality that I had, for those of you who are unaware, I was in the ER with pleurisy back at the end of July. And for those of you who don't know what pleurisy is, I am going to describe quickly the experience of landing in the ER and what that was like. So one day I woke up and I was feeling difficulty in breathing. Okay. And it felt like my lungs were on fire. And I went for my morning walk and I was actually going to go on a hike, but instead I went for a walk around town. And thank you to everyone. We still have 40 people here. Thank you to everyone for tapping that like button. I appreciate it. It draws people into this live stream. But I went for a walk around town and it was slowly getting worse and I felt low on energy and I think that was a Sunday. I can't remember. It was either a Saturday or a Sunday. And I knew I had to work. I remember that much. And I remember going through work and thinking, "Oh my gosh." And then the people at work, not my coworkers, I'm talking about the guests at the hotel, were incredibly demanding and very impatient. And I remember it just being a very challenging night at work, probably one of the more challenging ones. And I basically went up to my apartment and I showered and brushed my teeth and collapsed into bed. And not literally collapsed, but when my head hit the pillow, I was out. Um, the next morning, I woke up and it felt like I had a very, very large kid sitting on my chest and it was still hurting to breathe. Okay. And I was under the impression that I might have a collapsed lung. I read what the symptoms are and I had a lot of them. So I took myself to the ER. Well, I got myself to the ER. It didn't involve me driving the whole way. I drove part of the way. And yeah, that took me 6 weeks out. I will say it took, yeah, 6 weeks out was when I hit when I was still stagnant at 90% recovery. And I never could really get to that 100% mark. My lungs were not burning, but I will say that it took a lot of, just my normal movements and everything were still taking more energy than they normally did, like breathing and everything. So I got a prescription of hydroxychloroquine from a doctor, and that worked wonders. And I was back to 100% within a week after that. Actually, before that prescription was over, I was 100%. But it was right before I went to the doctor to ask for that prescription or to see if there was some other prescription that would be better. And I'm really not someone who takes pills, so it was, for me to do that is, takes a lot. Um yeah, that was the moment when I was like, yeah, I can't keep living like this anymore. I need to take care of myself. Especially since the doctor in the ER said you don't have, we've tested you for everything. You have no underlying infections. He said this is sounds like this is stress related. And I thought, geez, that hit me hard actually. So it was a slow and gradual realization over the course of those 6 weeks. Um, yeah. So I hope that answers your question. I'm going to go back up and see what else we've got here. But Blake, that is what made me buy the plane ticket. It really is. It's what made me. I gave notice, and then I immediately bought that plane ticket after I spoke to my. Well, not immediately. I think it was like. I think it was like several hours, but you get the point. Let's see. Drew, I'm not sure that I'm going to do information about international schools in the next one, but I will be doing several live streams about moving abroad if people are interested, and clearly you are, so I'd be happy to do that. I just don't know if it's going to be the next one. Thanks so much for your interest. I appreciate it. Stuart, genuine question with all my heart. When you have a connection to something higher, such as God, but family may not understand, how do you help soothe other people's fears, etc.? It never stopped me, but good night, Steve. Let's see. MT Bluebird. That comes out. You'll find out where I am in my next video. I'm in a temporary apartment right now. That looks like I'm in a prison, even though it's a really nice apartment. It's just they don't show the bars in the Airbnb ad. Let's put it that way. So yes, I realized that when you make big life changes, Stuart, everyone's fears start to come out at you. Now, that happened a lot to me. That even happened this time around when I left for this country. Not with my parents, because they're so used to this. They're like, oh, our daughter, the gypsy. Yeah, they're very, very used to this. And also, I will add that both of my parents were travelers. They don't travel anymore due to their health, and the other, well, actually both of them due to health and finances, to be honest. They travel a little bit like within their region, but that's it. But yeah, so they're very open to me doing lots of wild things, wild by other people's standards, not by my own. And so I don't experience it from them, but from people outside of me, outside of my parents, I should say, they often have the biggest challenges with my decisions. And that's because I live in a way that is very, very different um, than other people. Now I'm going to get into your question. Okay. First and foremost, I think that when I make changes, I know that a change needs to come. I often don't know when it's going to come and when I'm going to make that change, but I know. And there are certain things that start to kind of plant seeds in my head. Like the country I'm in now, this was brewing for me. I've been interested in this country for many years, but it really started brewing for me back in January. And I was researching it as like just to come here on a long trip for when my contract ended for my job. So, but then with the health, you know, issue cropping up, and my parents definitely saying like, just whatever you need to do to take care of yourself, we are your champions. Like that really pushed me off. But when I told other people, they went into shock quite a bit, and there was a bit of anxiety you could feel, but they were all super supportive. And again, that's because people are used to me doing this. I know that when people are not used to you making big changes, you are going to become, it's like you are becoming the dartboard for all of their fears and anxiety. And I totally get that. And I know that you said it's never stopped you, and that's fantastic. But sometimes when you are with someone and that's happening, if you can stay completely calm and quiet and let them get out their anxiety and their fears and just let them talk themselves through it, silence really is extremely powerful. They'll get it out. And then when they finish, you can say, I sense, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I understood that you're really, you care about me and you're really afraid, or whatever that may be, whatever you sense is coming at you. And I was like, why don't we talk about it? And it kind of when you are calm and other people are kind of freaking out, it it shakes them from their unconsciousness, you know. It brings them into the presence, especially when you are showing that you care about them by saying, I really appreciate how much you care for me, and I sense that you are, feeling XYZ. Did I understand that right? Do you want to talk about it? And it doesn't always work. I will be honest. Sometimes you can't soothe people, and it's not your job to. But often it does work, and I hope that helps a little bit. Let's see. Oh, Brian, you're still here. Awesome. Thank you so much. Uh, Drew, I'm not going to tell you what time it is in the country I'm in right now, just because no one knows which country I'm in until the Sunday video comes out. But after that, I'm happy to answer that question. Drew, good night. Take care. Thank you. Yes, Ayurvedic medicine is interesting. Let's see. Andrea, it bothers me about doctors here in the US always push as many pills as possible. In Europe, it's the complete opposite. They'll try to prescribe less only when it's really necessary. Yeah, I'm a huge proponent of living as naturally as possible. And I really, the great irony is that I am in a city, but I managed to be by the beach. So that was the trade-off. I'm not alone in the mountains, but I am at the beach. And if I can't have one or the other, then I'm a little, I will not live in a city unless I have a way to immerse myself in nature for long periods of time, day in and day out, So I think there is no money in people being healthy. And I think that's part of it. That's why they call it an industry in the United States and other places in the world. It's just healthcare. Let's see what else. Sorry, it's a hard time reading this screen. Yeah, thank you, Andreas. There is a lot of relief. It really is. It is a relief to know that I made the right decision. And in hindsight, that exhale that you referenced in my most recent video, in hindsight, I can't even fathom waiting as long as I thought I was going to wait to make that change. I'm like, wow, my space of consciousness, I can't even speak today. Sorry, my space of consciousness shifted so quickly. Let's see. Hey, Santa Cruz Mountain Wildlife and Trails. Awesome. Welcome. Brian White, a woman always needs to maintain an element of mystery. Yeah, I I think everyone needs an element of mystery. Someone made a comment on one of my videos, like why I don't share my first name, and I was like, actually, I just never thought about it. I thought about it recently. I'm like, gosh, I don't ever share my name with people. So I think everyone should have a bit of mystery. But and they said I share everything else about my life online, and I thought, no, I don't. That's not my style. I share whatever is relevant towards a bigger message. I do believe that everyone needs an element of mystery, and there are certain things that are to be kept to oneself and for oneself, for that matter. Let's see. Beaches or mountains? Well, if the beach has good surf, I prefer the beach. But if it doesn't, I prefer the mountains. Stuart, is Western society collapsing? That is, hi, Carrie. Hello to you in Australia. Stuart, that's an interesting question. I think a lot of what we have known and trusted is, in terms of the way things work, in terms of institutions, is falling apart. But for me, a lot of people like to go into doomsday mentality and everything, but I always believe there's light and dark, collapse and opportunity. I do believe that this is a time for incredible individual opportunity to make changes. Right now, I would say that in my life right now, I know more people making dramatic changes than I ever have. And I'm talking about people who are planning or doing, making the big change right now. So, um, again, yes, I do think a lot of what is familiar and what we've relied upon is kind of crumbling faster. It's been a slow. It's what do they say? I can't remember the exact saying, but it's basically saying slowly, but then all of a sudden, you know. But yeah, I again, I see it as an opportunity. I I really do, and we all need to find where the opportunity lies for us within this change. You know, personally, I have said this before, but I want to live in a world that is not built on lies, that is not built on greed and fear. So, oh, Brian, thank you so much for that super chat. Oh my gosh, thank you. That's so kind. I'll read your comment in just a moment there, but I just want to say that I want to live in a world that is based on truth, kindness, generosity, and creativity. And we currently have a system that is built on control, fear, greed, lies. And so I think it's going to be challenging, but humans have lived through challenging things for centuries and centuries and centuries. There is no reason we can't move through this period with grace and joy, even. And I'm not saying it's not going to be difficult, because it can be. And there are lots of people in this world experiencing horrendous things. I'm not going to pretend that those don't exist. But I do believe that there is hope. I believe that there is a better way of being, a way of being that serves the good of humanity, the planet, and all of this planet's beautiful beings. So, yeah, that's my answer to your question about, is society collapsing? Drew, have I traveled along the Himalayan mountains? Yes, I actually have been trekking in Nepal, and I would love to go to other countries and trek in the Himalayas as well. I absolutely loved it. So I will, and I actually am plotting another trip there within the next year or so, and I will keep you all posted. Thank you. Brian, thank you. Go celebrate your first ever live stream with a special lunch or dinner and a yummy dessert. Thank you, Brian. Oh, that's awesome. So that's very generous of you. You know, I've been eating local food since I got here, and that would get me, I have to say, that would probably get me about 6 to 8 meals. Thank you. Happy Coder, would love to see some guests in this channel in the future that represent those who give hope that Western society will still survive. Yeah, you know, I will. And I think, and I'll continue to share people who really inspire me. You know, Dan Price is one of those people, and he is a real beacon of hope, as I shared earlier. Again, just in case you didn't catch that, I will post the links in the description box after the live stream is over for Dan Price's, the videos on Dan Price. He is phenomenal, like great human being all around. And it's the more people step out of the way of life that we are told we need to live, or the way of life we're told we need to abide by, and that it's the right way and the only way, the more we move faster towards all the good stuff. You know, real change starts with you, starts with me, one person at a time. If we focus on transforming our life, we become, you know, the way showers for others. And it's not that we are going to be gurus or anything like that, that we are just there to hold the candle up for other people to see and to light their own candles from. That's really what it boils down to. Because the way civilization has been set up is often stamps out and extinguishes people's light. You know, it really is, it's set up to extract as much time and energy and creativity out of people as possible, and not in the right way. By extracting the time and energy and money, they're not left with enough energy to be creative. And so for me, I do believe that the more people just start to change their lives to suit themselves and to follow their own inner compass, the more this world will transform. That really is. If every single person who has the benefit of having a roof over their head, food on the table, and clothes on their back, and living in a safe place, spent 1 year just dedicating to transforming their lives, this world would be mind-blowingly amazing. And even if a fraction, like a tenth of the world of people that I just described did that, the world would still be in a majorly different place than it is right now. So I'm just saying change starts with you. And it's not about necessarily looking outside ourselves and having to go be do-gooders and volunteering every place that we possibly can or whatever. If that helps you make good changes in your life, fantastic. I celebrate it. But just do what feels right for you. Don't do what you think you should do or what society tells you should do to be a good person and to live a good life. Let's see. Santa Cruz Mountains Wildlife and Trails. Where am I at the moment? You have to wait until my video on Sunday. I'm not going to spoil it just yet. Okay. And then I'm happy to talk about it from there out. Stuart. Oh, that's very kind of you. Thank you. And God bless you as well. Andreas, I don't think no, I have not ever spoken about Africa. And that's because I have zero, Antarctica and Africa are the two continents I have zero experience on. So, there are certain places in Africa that I am intrigued by. I will tell you, there are certain places I don't, and maybe I'll get into that in another video, but I did have a family member murdered on the continent. And so that is pretty soft. That's pretty rough spot for me. But Morocco, Tunisia, Madagascar. Yeah. Did I say Namibia? Namibia as well. So yeah, those are some of my interests. I may go, I may not. Well, I'll let you know. But yeah, I'm not big on talking about Africa just for that reason alone. Let's see. Oh, great question, Drew. When I travel to Asia, how do Asian people treat you as a foreigner? There's so much racism in South Korea and Japan and Taiwan against foreigners. I think it really depends where you are and where you are within a particular country. It's really not there. You can't make blanket statements. I came to a place where a lot of people would, think that there is racism, and I personally have not experienced that. I'm trying to think if I experienced racism. Now, for example, in a lot of Asian countries, people will welcome you and will help you and will be super kind. But in countries like Japan, I believe, and Singapore and South Korea, you can only have one citizenship. You can't have dual. I could be wrong. Maybe South Korea allows dual, but I know that Japan and Singapore definitely do not. And there is a sense, like in Japan, it's gaijin. Gaijin is foreigner, and you will never be Japanese. But that doesn't mean that people are going to be racist against you. This just means that you will never be fully accepted as one of them. Now, I know that there is racism everywhere. Okay, just flat out, I'm not denying that. But I personally have not had that experience. And I have experienced racism before, just not in Asia. And I will say that whatever motivates that is their problem. You know what I mean? It's not, whenever there's hate involved, hate is just rooted in fear. And so I just steer clear of it, and I am kind no matter what. And I'm not going to go out of my way to be someone's doormat, but I don't meet their hate with hate. I just wish them well and keep moving on. So I hope that answers your question. All right. Let's see. That was the end of the comments. It's been an hour and a half. Any more questions? I don't know how many countries I've traveled in Asia. I've only lived in Indonesia and South Korea, and now I'm in my third country again, which um, I will not reveal yet until my Sunday video. I don't really know. I haven't counted. Did you say you'd like to, Brian White? Didn't you say you'd like to visit Central Asia? And what countries would you like to visit? Great question. Um, well, Central Asia is kind of big, but I'd like to go back to Nepal. I really would. I love that country. I really do. Um, there's something so wonderful about it. I don't know. I feel a real connection to the mountains there, and when I was there a long time ago, I will admit, so I don't know how it's changed. I know that there's a lot of political turmoil right now, in the form of massive protests, but and very intense ones, I will say, not just massive, intense. But when I was there, it was quite peaceful. It was before that earthquake. I can't remember when that earthquake was, 2015 or something like that. And I think I went in 2013. Um, there's something about being in the presence of these majestic mountains that just never bores me. And if you need luxury, and I'm not talking to you, Brian, I'm just saying in general, if you need luxury, you're not going to like Nepal. Okay. Like when I was there were brownouts a lot. There were, 8 hours a day, sometimes up to 8 hours. It was generally 3 to 6 hours of no electricity. So brownouts. And you would check into a hostel or a hotel and they would have a schedule on the wall, like right next to the check-in desk or the front desk, saying when the scheduled brownouts would be. So, and I ate very basic meals. I ate a lot of them, like just local food. I occasionally had a couple Western meals at a wonderful restaurant, and even ran into a friend from college in one of them. And I had no social networks, so it was pure serendipity. It was pretty amazing. Um, Other than that, I'd really love to go to Tibet. I have a friend who is a Tibetan monk, and um, I if he makes it back to Tibet, I would like to time a trip with him because that's the kind of experience I want to have if I go to Tibet. And then I'd like to go to northern India, Ladakh, and just I don't know, something about the mountains. In terms of Central Asia, there are probably more, but they're not at the top of my list. Yeah, they're really not. Let's see. What else? Dhruv, yeah, Nepal is amazing. Suggestions on traveling to Nepal, I would say travel lightly, be curious, and don't be cheap about the buses. So ignorance is bliss sometimes, but I I took a bus from Kathmandu up to Pokhara, which is the town where you go if you want to trek like Annapurna Base Camp and stuff like that. And I got that bus ride totally oblivious to the fact that it's one of the most dangerous roads in the world. And that buses literally go over the edge often, or buses just crash. So, yes, my biggest travel tip for you is that if you catch a bus, spend money on the most expensive buses. Do not catch the local buses. Those are very, very poorly maintained, and you are putting your life at risk more than you can imagine. So, yeah, that's what I would say. Spend the extra money on the higher end buses that kind of cater towards foreigners. Yes, Brian, have I been to or am I interested in the Caucasus? I am very, very interested. I have little experience though. My top interest is the Republic of Georgia. Yeah, that country, that was probably the only other country I had a sense that I could live in long term. Um, so yeah, and they have ocean and mountains. That's the key. I hope to make a trip there actually within the next year, and if I do, I will certainly document it for you and everyone else here. You're absolutely welcome, Drew. There are 36 of you still here after an hour and 40 minutes. Wow, thank you so much for being here. Is there anything else you'd like me to talk about before I sign off? I'm not in a rush, but I don't want to just ramble for the sake of rambling. I want to talk about what you want me to talk about. So please put that in the chat box if there's anything. Oh, I'm glad to hear that, Brian. Yeah, Georgian people, I hear good things about them. I don't know any, but I hear very good things about them. Okay, so I'm going to give it just a few more seconds before I see. Is there anyone else who'd like me to chat about anything in particular? Oh, interesting, Drew. I did not know about the protests in Ladakh. I'm going to have to look that up. Yeah, I tend to research places before I travel to them because I once made a trip to the Maldives, and yeah, that was interesting. I stayed in Mali, and the capital, for a few days. You know, most foreigners just get on a plane to go to some fancy island, but I was like, my significant other at the time and we hung out in Mali for several days with all the locals. There were almost no foreigners hanging out in Mali, and there were massive protests. And we didn't research that before we booked our last minute trip. So yeah, I've started doing that a little bit more since then. Yeah, and they were, you know, the protest did not affect us at all, but I have photos and everything and video footage of it. It was really quite interesting. Oh, afterthought. Have I been to any Arabian countries? And if so, your experience? No, I haven't. You know, I'd really like to go to Jordan. I have a friend who has traveled around Jordan and said tremendously good things about it. I would also like to go to Oman. Not so, you know, for historical purposes, it'd be great to go to Egypt, but I just, you know, a lot of my friends just said it was really overhyped. And part of the reason I haven't been to the Middle East is because one, I'm a woman who travels alone, and but I also don't like tour groups. So there's this really hard, and I know that a lot of um, countries are very safe, but I need to. It's also one of the reasons I haven't traveled through many parts of India as well. I need to feel. I've been to some very like, I don't know. I've been to places where people like look at me and they say, "What? You went alone?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And again, like ignorance is bliss. But I've have I have some friends who are solo female travelers who have had trouble in many Middle Eastern countries, and that's because we like to travel and be amongst the people. And I think that if I do go, I need to make friends with a lot of the women and to dress like the women, and um, and that's the way to have people look out for you. You know, I've had women friends who've had trouble of men kind of like harassing them and stuff or being denigrating. And I'm not saying this is all the experiences. It's and that's all the people. No blanket statements. I'm just saying that these are the reasons why when I go to those countries, it'll be well planned and everything else. And I may have to compromise and go on tours to sort of find a balance between what I want to do and what is wise. Let's see what else. Oh, we got more. Oh, thank you, Happy Coder. I'm glad you've enjoyed it. Afterthought. Do you choose countries based on the grounding and its geoplate and stuff? I'm trying to understand that more myself. Great question. Absolutely great question. I do not. Um, I go where I feel. Now, I do have, I will say, I have a rich spiritual life. I don't talk about it a ton, but I go where I feel drawn, and I've never been drawn to the wrong place. Let's put it that way. Let's see. But that's really interesting afterthought. And if you learn anything about that, I know about the ley lines and everything, and I have traveled some of the ley lines, and I've had some really powerful experiences. So, yeah. Let's see. Yes, yes, Drew. That's one of the countries where my solo female traveler friends have had trouble, a lot of trouble actually. Great Gatsby. What do you think about Botox? Do you think it's bad? It's a bad idea, or is it bad? First and foremost, I don't want to judge anyone for doing whatever they want to do to their bodies. It's their body, not mine. I personally um, won't go near it. Not at all. No surgery. I don't do fake stuff, I would say. I mean, I'm pretty fussy. Even my clothes are all natural fibers. So injecting fake stuff into me is just really not my vibe. I also don't wear makeup, so that's part of it. But thank you for asking. It is loaded with chemicals, and the fact that you eventually lose control of the muscles in your face kind of tells me that it's probably not great for us. But I will say that I haven't done any research on it, so I don't know what it's actually made of. But again, if that's what people want to do, that's their choice. It's also whatever they're dealing with internally that leads them to get that. And everyone's on a different path and different sort of trajectory in life, and just need to allow people to be themselves, whatever that may be, and to go through whatever they need to go through at a certain time. But thank you for asking. It's not my cup of tea, though. Drew, what is your thought about USA H-1B visa fees? I have no idea about them, honestly. Sorry, Drew, I have no idea. I don't know anything about those visas. I know that they exist, but that's it. The only people I've ever met are students who worked at the hotels I've worked at, and they had J1 visas. So that's it. And I know that those fees were actually quite significant, that a lot of them were paying close to 2 to 3,000 US dollars to get those visas to come work for a summer or summer season or winter season and then go back to their home countries. But they did save a lot of money during their work seasons. Any other questions for today? All right. I know that Drew would like me to talk about living and working abroad in the next live stream. If you have any suggestion for the next one, please let me know. Oh, we've got a question. Dan and Angelina. Ah! Oh, it's Angelina. I thought her name was Angelique. I am so sorry. Nice to meet you online. Okay, so everyone, I just want to I reveal this in my, I just want to share this. I reveal it in my video, but some lovely, lovely people. And again, Angelina, I am so sorry. I do mention you in my next video, you and Dan, and I actually said Angelique, and I am so sorry. Angelina, I will not forget your name though. So I was walking down the street the other day, and I was stopped by a very nice gentleman named Dan, a Westerner, and I thought that maybe he mistook me as an expat who had lived here for a long time, a foreigner who knew her way around and maybe needed help finding something. And it turns out he stopped and asked me, "Are you a YouTuber?" And I was really caught off guard because that was the first time anyone had ever said that. And I kind of froze. Sorry, Dan, I wasn't being rude. I really did I froze because I was shocked. And he says, "I just watched one of your videos," and he pulled out his phone and showed me his YouTube history. And no doubt there was my most recent video right in his history. And he and lovely Angelina were so kind. And he's here in the comments section offering any assistance if I need help getting around. I will definitely try to reach out to you. I just don't like to post my email in the comments section. Dan and Angelina, if I do see you, I will share my contact information in the future. Thank you so much for your kindness. Drew is asking how to travel alone and how to plan financially and how to find a job abroad. Okay, so we're going to do we're going to do a whole separate live stream on this. That's a great, great suggestion. Thank you. Hi, Anne. Greetings to you in Canada. Watching from the bleachers. Thanks for having me. Awesome. You're welcome. Thanks for being here. Afterthought. Thanks so much. I appreciate that. Dhruv, I am very primitive on my video editing. I am in terms of recording and everything, like I just got, I'm disoriented already. I especially unaware with this stuff. This mic, I just bought this literally a week before I left the United States, and I'm so basic. I really am. So I film on an old phone and I edit in iMovie, and that's it. I don't like to spend a ton of money on things that I'm not super passionate about. Like I really, for me, it's most important to just be able to share these ideas and messages, and it's not about the fancy stuff. I do try to edit my videos to get rid of, you know, my and just any bloopers. But beyond that, I like to keep things simple. Ah, Great Gatsby. Awesome question. Do I fancy saunas and hammams, hot saunas? Yes, I have been to several hammams. Actually, one of the best ones I ever went to, which was, well, I won't reveal it because it'll get overrun. I don't want to become the Elizabeth Gilbert of the world, of other places, I should say, that Ubud Bali used to have a healthy dose of tourism, and then after that book came out, and kudos to her on a beautiful book, like no shade on her, but Ubud Bali became a total um, flood of people on a spiritual uh, mission or adventure, and it just kind of encourages mass tourism. So I won't reveal where, but I have been to some really incredible saunas, hot saunas, hammams, spas. I will say that back in 2008, not long after I moved to Seoul, South Korea, I was wandering around this neighborhood. It was on the fringes of Itaewon, which is a touristy neighborhood, but this was in a more local area. And I just like to wander, and I like to, it's funny, I joke that I use guidebooks to find out where not to go. So I really do, because when I go places, I don't only want to be around foreigners. I want to feel what it feels like to live in that place and to be amongst the people. And so I was wandering off, and I found, and in South Korea, they're called jjimjilbang. And please forgive me if you're Korean and that pronunciation is wrong. But they have they before 2020, they were all over the place. I don't know what it's like now. I know that some of them that I used to go to are gone now, unfortunately. But it's a really, really big part of the Korean culture. And yeah, they give the most amazing body scrubs. So these jjimjilbangs are separated into, there's a public area, and then there's also a separate male section of the building and a separate female section. Also, Japan has amazing, amazing spas. And it's usually mountain spring water, which is like real hot thermal water that they use. Anyway, so you go in, and I go into the women's section. In the separate sections, everything is nude. Otherwise, they give you these like uniforms. They're like sports team suits almost. And you wear those in those areas, but you're nude in the male and female sections. And you could sign up for treatments other than just getting into the different baths and saunas and everything else. And one of the treatments I would get was a body scrub. That was the first treatment I got when I was wandering the streets of this neighborhood. And I walked in, and they have you get naked, and it's all, all the women are nude in their section, and they had a couple tables next to each other, and they had two ajumas. And ajuma literally means married woman, but it's often used to refer to like senior citizen women in a more colloquial sense. And these women are in their bras and their underwear, and they have their hair in like hair net type things, or shower caps, I should say. And the lady, summons me over to a table like this, and she scrubbed layers of skin off me. I have to say that she had me get up to go rinse off, and then she was going to clean the table and have me come back, and she was going to put some oils and creams on me or whatever after. And the amount of skin that came off me was gross. It was so disgusting. But I have never felt more amazing after being at a spa or a sauna than I did after that. And I did some hot and cold plunges after, but seriously, best experience ever. Let's see. I wish that place was still around. All right, let's see. Steve, about the visas, the last instrument I worked on was with a team with 4 PhDs in particle physics from China, India, Japan, and the US. Not easy to find these type of folks. That sounds really cool. What an awesome experience, Steve. I love working with people of all different cultures is an absolute gift. You learn so much. And it also shows different way of thinking. It's really phenomenal. Good night, Steve. I have not been to Israel. I actually went to a wonderful Israeli cafe in Nepal, actually in Kathmandu, Nepal. But I am not going to travel to that region until it's peaceful. Let's see. Do I watch Korean dramas and Korean Netflix series? No, I don't. Korean cinema is mind-blowingly engaging. I love that, but I personally don't. I don't watch, like I don't follow a lot of series or anything like that. I tend to spend more time outdoors than in front of screens. The only time I'm really thrilled to be in front of screens is doing videos for you all or responding to your comments, to be honest. Otherwise, if people email me, they know the responses are not always prompt unless we're making plans. Let's see. Sorry, I'm getting a little antsy here. You can tell I'm shifting around quite a bit. I don't sit still very well. Let's see. Glenn Elliott. I did 30 days of hot water therapy at a spa and did not feel better afterwards, health-wise. Yeah, I don't think hot water therapy does any good for me either, unless you go between the hot and cold. It's the contrast. Wim Hof is really a great reference, and Laird Hamilton. Wim Hof and Laird Hamilton. I'll just write that in the comments. Yeah, cold water therapy tends to have more of a health benefit, it seems. But saunas work, but they work even better if you go into something cold afterwards. Joined in late. Would like to watch the bits you missed out on? Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't know how to pronounce your name. I'm not amazing at reading Cyrillic. I can understand some words because I know the Greek alphabet, but I can't totally get it all. And I'm so sorry. I don't know how to pronounce your name. I do plan on saving my lives, and I hope I just do it correctly when I end this live stream. Forgive me. It's my first live stream, and if I mess it up, I'm so sorry. But I will be doing more, and I will learn how to save them if I don't do it correctly this time. Robert, I agree. Yeah. It doesn't matter what your physical age is. There's we all have a lot of life in us, and it's how much we Vitali. Okay, thank you so much for letting me know. Vitali, thank you for letting me know how to pronounce your name. Again, back to what Robert said, it doesn't matter. He said he's 50 years old and young, and that's right. If you are in love with life and you are living and not just existing, you are living, it doesn't matter what your physical age is. It really doesn't. Age kind of just disappears at some point. I think if you are vibrant and full of life, it doesn't really matter what your physical age is. Drew, I do know how to drive two-wheel vehicles like scooters. I used to ride motorbikes in Bali all the time, and I've done so in many other Southeast Asian countries. I even did I also went on a motorcycle trip around. Now I didn't drive the motorcycle. I rode with my significant other at the time, and then we switched to a motorbike, and that was just for practical reasons because we had to return the motorcycle at a certain time. Logistics. Um, Louise, any tips on starting a new job this upcoming week? Changing jobs after 4 years, and I'm anxious. I would say be kind to yourself. I think it takes a lot of courage to leave one job and start another. And I say this for one reason and one reason only is that is because you're a beginner again. You're new. There's a lot you need to learn at this new job. Just that, at least in my experience, I always feel like a beginner when I started a new job. And that means to go easy on yourself, give yourself some grace. You're not always going to get everything right. You're not going to be as, you may not be as grounded and at ease as you were. I know you're saying that you're anxious, but yeah, just go easy on yourself. Give yourself a lot of grace. Ask questions. And definitely, ask a lot of questions at the beginning so that for later on. A lot of people go into new jobs and they like to put up a front like that they've got everything under control. And I think it's better to be more transparent and hardworking and diligent, but transparent in terms of questions and showing that you want to learn and that you want to do well. Yeah, and I don't know. I think it's really easy to get people will try to pull you into drama very early on so that they get you to pick sides, and I just steer clear of that. Yeah, that's my opinion, at least. Drew, I don't pack a lot before going abroad. I brought whatever I needed for my computer and YouTube. I brought a few books. Normally I bring one, but I knew I was leaving for a long time and I didn't know what the English book situation would be like, so I just brought a few and just some clothes. That's it. I always bring a notebook though, so I can write. Yeah, and that's really it. Rahul, is it worth living a remote life aloof in your own terms, or should we go for material chase? Well, you might be new to my channel, but I will say I don't really pursue the material. I've always been more interested in experiences, and yeah, that's more my vibe. It's more my vibe. Let's see. So yeah, again, I've taken interesting jobs that paid less over higher paying jobs that seem less interesting but had more prestige. So yeah, I think that's the short way of putting it. Let's see. Yeah, Glenn Elliott. Let's see what you said about the hot water. I think I'll try some cold water treatments. Yeah, when I did hot water only, I got too sensitive to cold water when I went to swim in a lake. Yeah, that's the thing. And actually, I heard, I can't remember who I was listening to talking about how people who don't have cold exposure in their life, um, you know, they aren't able to regulate their body temperature as well. So, and my experience with cold water has been extremely positive. I would definitely recommend reading Wim Hof's book on that, or even watching just some of his interviews and his talks on YouTube. You don't even have to buy the book. I would just do that first. It's really interesting and powerful. And Laird Hamilton goes into it a bit too. But Wim Hof is he is the guy. He's the Iceman. That's his nickname. Let's see. All right, I think that's it for now. It's been 2 hours. Before I sign out, can anyone tell me if ads popped up during the live stream for you? I will consider doing that. I'm not sure if my friends, actually, nobody in my life knows I do YouTube. Yeah, yeah. Dan and Angelina are the first people who I've met in real life in person. And no, I have a YouTube channel. So there. Let's see. But I will ask them. I do have friends coming to this country that I'm in to visit. One is coming in November. And if she's up for it, and if I feel like telling her I'm on YouTube, uh, I would consider it. So who did there were ads. Interesting. Okay. Thanks for letting me know. I appreciate it because when I was watching how to do live streams, I was watching some YouTube instructionals and it was saying that it would notify me when there were ads, but it never notified me. So that's why I was asking. Thank you very much. Awesome. Vitali is also saying that cold showers are awesome. They work a treat. Now, one thing oh, you're so welcome, Andrea. I'm thrilled that you were pleased with this live stream. You know, that's really what I want to do here is just share as much of my experiences and information I've collected along the way. And if it helps you all, awesome. And if I say anything that doesn't resonate, please throw it out the window. You know, it may come back to you later on and you'd be like, oh, that makes sense, or it may never. So yeah, I don't pretend to have the answers for everyone at all times. Um, let's see. Thank you very much, Black Tea. I appreciate that. That's really wonderful. Drew, I don't know really how it works for earnings on YouTube. I really don't. I don't know how it works per ad or anything like that. And I try not to pay attention. I don't talk about how much money I make anywhere. Even in my last job, I was happy to share my expenses in proportion to my income, and I did that in percentages. But I personally don't talk about finances, and um, I don't I don't track what YouTube pays me until I just see what is going to be deposited into my account. So yeah, sorry. There are certain things I keep private, and I put it this way. Do you walk down the street and talk to people you've never met before and share your finances with them? And that's kind of the way I look at it. But I don't mind that you asked. I'm just letting you know why I don't answer that question. Afterthought, yes, red light therapy, massive. That's one of my challenges having moved here is that so back in the States, I have my whole apartment, I outfitted it all with incandescent bulbs, and I had certain lamps with red lights in them. So at night, I would only have red lights on, and they were all incandescent. So that means they generated some heat. And I know everyone freaks out about safety and they weren't, energy efficient, but they are extremely good for mitochondrial health. And they really, really, really help my sleep. They're very good for, letting your body know that it's time to unwind. So once it started to get dark, the red lights would come on. So yeah, let's see. I I I always do the AM sun though. That's a non-negotiable thing for me unless I'm traveling. There's, if I'm on airplanes and stuff, I can't help that. But otherwise, it is non-negotiable. Like I would never do a live stream if it meant compromising me being able to get outdoors and do that, for example. Like there is, or an emergency or travel days. That's it. Those are the only things that AM sunlight. I try to do sunrise and sunset. I realize a lot of people's work schedules don't permit that, but I chose a work schedule that unfortunately I didn't get to watch the sunsets most days, but I always got to see the sunrise, and that's the most important. Second is the sunset. Let's see. Great question. Thank you. Good, Glenn. I'm pleased to hear that. Commercials aren't bad, no big deal. I'm glad to hear that. It lets you have an option. And there's one option, I forget what it's called, but it's like make the most money. And I was like, so I brought it down to the middle. Do I like to promote and collaborate with the brand and sponsorship on the YouTube? I'm not going after that. I would only ever, a lot of people do it with all sorts of brands and companies. And there are a lot of products that I just won't use or even consider using. So I would never do that. If it was something to do with like red light therapy or like a VPN service that I use, which no one else promotes, but it's like hands down one of the best in the entire world, or something like that, then I would consider doing a sponsorship or like an affiliate program type thing. But this channel, if it meets my needs and gives me a little extra for fun, I'm happy. I don't need to go make millions off of YouTube. That's not why I started this channel. I started this channel because wanted an outlet for creativity, and since I had writer's block, I thought it might be better to talk about my experiences and share them. It might be easier, and it did. It helped my writing a lot by starting this channel. It kind of opened up the gates, so to speak. So again, I started this more out of the desire to share. And if it can provide me with a decent lifestyle, that's fantastic. But I don't want every single video to be about, promoting something, because I just really, I want people to, how do I say this? I want people to just live, go out and live. And if this channel can help you do that, great. I don't need to, uh, I'm going to put it this way: I don't need to capitalize on every opportunity to make money, because if I did, I would feel gross. It's just not my style. Sure, when I like, if I create a book, if I write a book or something and I want to sell that, sure, or if I want to have like webinars and stuff, absolutely. But I want to make sure it adds value to people's lives. I don't want to just be peddling everything I possibly can just to make a buck. Thank you for asking. Oh, okay. So, Great Gatsby, excellent question. Are you in the US, Great Gatsby? Please remind me. If you are, and again, I am not sponsored by these folks, I have no affiliation whatsoever. I'm going to put it in the comment section. It's healthlighting.com, and it's don't mistake it as healthy lighting. It's healthlighting.com. That's where one of my sort of customers, I would say, at the restaurant I used to work at, turned me on to it because I was complaining about how I was having a hard time getting incandescent bulbs in the US for a while. And he pointed me in the direction of that. And that's where I bought all my incandescent bulbs, red light bulbs. And then I also bought my near infrared lamp from them. Actually, one of my friends bought that off me. And yeah, it was fantastic. My experience with the infrared, near infrared light, I never used it more than segments of 25 minutes at a time, no more than once or twice a day. And I personally got the most benefits from it. And that also falls in line with the recommendations in the booklet. Please know that if you do, awesome. Oh, you're in New York City. Okay, perfect. Great Gatsby. If you order from them, please be aware it takes several weeks to get their products, but they are packaged well, and they're good quality. So again, not a paid promotion or sponsorship or any affiliation whatsoever. I'm just sharing it because that's where I would buy all of mine. So let's see what else. Black tea. I just joined. It's the first thing that was proposed to me when I opened YouTube, and of course I had to click on it. Awesome. Yeah, black tea, I have to admit, it was a very last minute, spontaneous kind of thing. Been a tropical storm going on. It's actually just mellowed out, so I may go out for a walk soon, a walk on the beach, but it's still gray, and so it's okay. I am happy to be here, but thank you so much. I'm glad YouTube shared this live stream with you and that you decided to join. We are about 2 hours and 12 minutes in. So there's a lot you missed, but I am going to do my utmost to save and post the live stream. I hope I do it correctly so that you can watch it if you'd like to go back. Great Gatsby, yes. So you can get red light therapy devices very cheap in China. So, but the big difference is that they're almost all LED, and the most healing properties. And so the problem is incandescent bulbs give you a much wider spectrum of red light. So you're getting different frequencies there, whereas LED gives you a much narrower spectrum of red light. So that's why I recommend the ones on Health Lighting. They have some LED red lights on there, but the regular red light bulbs are full spectrum, not full spectrum, they're incandescent, so that you do feel the heat. LED does not generate heat, and the heat is in fact beneficial, especially for the near infrared lamps. Yeah, so I prefer incandescent, and almost everything coming out of China is LED. Let's see what else. No, Drew, I do not use NordVPN. I use Proton. Yes, I use Proton. I pay for it. It's not as cheap as the others, but it is phenomenal. Thank you very much, Black Tea. Actually, it's really funny. So Black Tea says, I don't mind ads and sponsorships too much. I understand that a lot of effort goes into these videos. YouTubers deserve to be paid. Thank you very much for saying that. Actually, I did get harassed by a few people before when I was mentioning my Patreon page in a video and saying that I'm asking people for money and stuff. And I just came back to them and I said, people who are creating things deserve to be remunerated for it. If people are doing this, there's no sense of, it's just the weird sense of entitlement that everything should be free when other people need to live. That's why I like to give as much free content as possible on YouTube that's manageable for me, and then do the deep dives on YouTube. Like a lot of the health stuff I share here is a fraction of what I am sharing and will continue to share on Patreon. And that's because those folks are spending the extra money to dive deeply with me and to speak one-on-one and also as a group. But yeah, thank you so much for that support, Black Tea. I really appreciate that. It really, it means a lot to me. I love when people acknowledge it, but I do want to say that for me, there's a fine line between when I feel like I'm a salesperson and when I'm just being authentic to myself. And I always want to stay on the right side of that line for me. Let's see. Hi, Valeria. Welcome. Glad you're here. Sorry, we've been going for about 2 hours and 15 minutes. I hope you have a chance to rewatch it as long as I know how to post it properly. Awesome, Robert. Yeah, heaven on earth, right. Getting outdoors, that's the way it is. A lot of people who I know who've suffered from depression, it's because they spend too much time, ironically, in front of screens, indoors and not outside, getting fresh air, full spectrum light on their eyes, and just being active. And also diet does play a lot in that, but artificial light is a big one. Hey, Robert A. Forrest, welcome, welcome. Yeah, I'm sorry. Robert, where are you based? Are you in the US, East Coast, West Coast, Midwest? Where are you? Or are you in another country? I I didn't know, timing wise. I was trying to make it appealing for a lot of my audience because I know where most people are from, but I knew I had to forego one region, and East Coast US was going to be one of them unless I had a lot of night owls. Oh, afterthought. Awesome. Yeah, you want to learn how to surf. Okay. So the people who give up on surfing are the ones who have people teaching them who, one, put them on a board that's too small. I don't know how tall you are or how much you weigh, but the smallest board I recommend is 9 feet. The bigger the board you learn on, the more support and flotation you'll have. Okay. Um, Yeah, I think that's the key. When people try to shortboard or do a board that's smaller than 9 feet getting started, I would say if you are, and I don't know which country you're in. Um, let's see. I would say if you are, I'm going to do this in feet and inches, forgive me. If you are 5'8" and under, or maybe 5'6" and under, go with a 9-footer. And if you're over 5'8", let's do 5'8". And if you're 5'8" or taller, go with a 9'2", 9'3". And when I say that, I mean 9'2", 9'3", 9'4", or 9'6", whatever. If you're over 6 feet, definitely do a 9'4" or a 9'5" or a 9'6" board. Yep. And be patient with yourself. When your instructor teaches you, they should teach you about the thrust. And in surfing, there's an expression called trust the thrust. I know it sounds terrible, but that's what it is. And that is when when to, people always make the mistake of standing up too early. Okay. And you got to wait until you feel that the wave slightly pushes your board up and pushes you forward. Okay. As soon as it does that, that's when you stand up. Never before that. Okay. because if you don't feel when the water and the wave push the board up ever so slightly and push it forward, you feel that momentum, and that's when you stand up. Okay. And don't stand up too straight to begin with, and don't squat way down low, sticking your butt out. Okay, kind of in the middle. You'll learn as you go, and then once you get really good and you start to go left or right, or you go back and forth between the lefts and the rights, you'll learn when to squat down low and when to kind of lengthen your stance and or narrow your stance between your feet, and to stand more upright based on different movements that you want to make, and different speeds you want to get, or based on the shape of the wave. Like, for example, if the wave is going to curl over your head or pitch, if it's starting to do this, then you squat, But as a beginner, those are the tips that I'd wanted to give you. Let's see. Oh, wow. Comments just picked up. Let's see. Yes, near infrared is huge. It's amazing. And actually, if you, Happy Coder, I once listened to an interview with Dr. Jack Kruse sometime in, I think it was early 2024, where he talks about how he uses infrared and near infrared light in his neurosurgery practice. So, because it facilitates healing faster. I thought that was fascinating. Let's see. I hope these comments will too, Great Gatsby. Great Gatsby says, I hope comments will be saved when you upload this love on YouTube. I will do my utmost to make sure that they do, but I am not certain. I have no idea if I'm going to do this correctly, so bear with me. I will get the hang of this. Let's see. Drew, I'm not certain when I'll do my next YouTube live. I will try to give some notice. I'm a very spontaneous person. I like to fly by the seat of my pants. I actually thought that I was going to wait till Monday to do a live stream, and I was going to advertise it. But I actually hire a gentleman to do my thumbnails. I like them very simple. He wanted to do super fancy ones. He's very talented, but just because I am not super up on tech, I only want to just do what I need to do, and that's it. And we have an agreement that he gets me thumbnails that I need within 48 hours. And he got me these a lot faster than normal. And he got me the one for my upcoming video and this one for this live stream, which I was thinking of doing on Monday. And he got them to me quite soon. So that was part of the inspiration for today. I was like, hey, why not? Let's see. Happy Coder. The Happy Coder says near infrared light penetrates tissue better than visible or mid-far infrared. Mid-infrared and far infrared don't penetrate deeply. Absolutely right. Yep, that's what Dr. Jack Kruse has said. They're absorbed more by the water, so they're less useful in non-invasive body applications. Thank you for sharing your wisdom. Awesome. I love it. I love my community, by the way. You all are so interesting and so knowledgeable, and I feel like it's an absolute gift for me to be able to do this. So thank you so much. Oh, Patreon. Drew, let me pull up my Patreon page. Bear with me, everyone. I'm going to just get a link for you. Let's see. Patreon is a membership community, Drew, just so you know. Oh, I opened the wrong window. And it is a subscription based. So if you want to dive deeper onto the subjects that I discuss here on YouTube, there are tiers that you can subscribe to on a monthly basis. They start at $5 and they go all the way up based on the benefits you would like. And yeah, that's basically what a lot of people sign up for on Patreon. So yeah, I'm going to put that link for you right here. There it is, the Mountain Dispatch. I do want to mention to everyone who has signed up, if you've signed up for my Patreon and you chose the free option, there is zero content. And that's because I keep all my free content for YouTube. The only thing you will see if you go as a free member to my Patreon page is an article explaining my reasons for not putting free content on Patreon. So there you go. If you want to join Patreon and get a membership, my link is just in the chat box now. And I'd love to see you over there. We have some interesting topics going on. Let's see. Oh wow, the chat's moving fast. I can't keep up. Let's see. Robert, I see a super chat there. Thank you very much. I'm going to get to it in just a moment. I want to just make sure I'm not skipping anything. Robert, what's USA? Oh, Eastern. You're in the Eastern half of the country. Got it. That's why you're seeing this live stream at it's probably like almost 2 a.m. there. My goodness. Thank you for being here. Black Tea, before you end this live stream, I just wanted to let you know I love your channel and your attitude. Always inspiring to see independent women living life on their own terms. Thank you so much for those kind words. I'm glad you are getting something from the channel. It's, as I said, I kind of started this on a whim, and well, it was a slow, gradual process, and then I just suddenly started uploading very quickly. And I uploaded 20 videos before I published them. Yeah, and before I started publishing them, just to give me a buffer. But yeah, I do like to just kind of move and live to my own rhythm. That's for sure. Unconventional is a good word for it, Black Tea. Hey, Mason, how are you? Thank you for being here. Sorry you've come in towards the end of the stream. We've been going for 2 hours and 25 minutes, but if I do it correctly, this will be posted on my YouTube channel. Let's see. Awesome, Valeria. Yeah, thank you for being here. Later is better than never. Robert, you're in California. Thank you so much for that super chat. I really appreciate your generosity. Any donations support my ability to do this. The fact that I am in Southeast Asia and I don't have to show up to a normal job makes it possible for me to have the mental bandwidth to be able to do live streams. So I really appreciate that. Yeah, you're right, Black Tea. When creators use ads and sponsorships and Patreon to make a living, there is resistance. Yeah, and that's bizarre to me. I like to give a lot for free, but at some point, I still need to live, right? So thank you for your support, Black Tea, and your understanding. You have I appreciate your perspective a lot. The Happy Coder, I think comments will eventually appear in the recording, but initially may not be there. Good to know. I am going to research it, though, just so I don't make mistakes in the future, because, it's super valuable. Yeah, Robert, you should get some sleep. I am going to end the stream kind of soon. So you can watch it tomorrow. And kudos to you for showing up at almost 2 a.m, though, nonetheless. Oh, interesting, Black Tea. Van Lifer, who also is in the anti-hustle camp, who quit his regular job to finance his lifestyle by YouTube only. Some of his followers were quite upset. I felt bad for him. Yeah, and I think part of that can be about how you communicate things, but also you can't make everyone happy. You just gotta live your life. And if people don't like that I make money doing this, or that I make money doing YouTube or writing and selling my writing, whatever, you can't. I think some of that has to do with that often comes from people who maybe aren't as happy in their lives as they could be, because they're not pursuing their own dreams or whatever. And also, again, if you're just constantly selling nonstop, then yeah, I wouldn't complain or be negative to the person. I'd just unsubscribe, because it's just not my vibe. Let's see. Thank you very much, Drew, for the author, but I might take you up on the editing in the future, but right now, the gentleman who does my thumbnails, I've been working with him off and on for several years when I was doing other freelance work, and I have a great working relationship, and he's been going through a lot, and I want to make sure that I keep supporting him by keeping my contract with him. Yeah. So thank you very much for the offer. I may take you up on the video part in the future. But it's actually quite simple so far, and I don't want anything fancy. I think my basic old school editing skills are enough for my purposes. But the thumbnail part, I do want to definitely stick with the gentleman I've been working with. Yeah, thanks again, Robert. Hannah, thank you from welcome. Welcome from Norway. Yeah, I'm happy to see that you're here too. I know I went super early, but I will do live streams, and I mean super early for by Norway time because I've been streaming for 2.5 hours. But I will um, do different times so that I can chat with all different folks from my community. I think it's really important, and it's so much fun for me. You all are super interesting. This is like this is a gift for me too. Let's see. Mason, am I a single woman? Well, let's just say that that has a connotation that means that one's looking or available. And let's just say that I don't go deep into my personal life, but I am not looking. Yeah. I I how do I put this? I love my own company. And yeah. So, but thank you. And also, I don't meet people over the internet really. It's not my, I don't know. I like in real life. Thank you, Hannah. That's so kind. All right. Well, if there aren't any more questions or topics that you all want to share with me or have me talk about, then I think I'll wrap it up. It has been 2.5 hours. I think this is the most I've spoken at since I worked a shift at the hotel that I left a couple weeks ago, or almost a couple weeks ago. Yeah, it was a couple weeks ago. Oh my gosh, it was 2 weeks from today. How sad. It was really hard to leave. It was I don't know. Yeah, I love a lot of my coworkers, and my employer was really great to me for sure. So yeah. Um, anyway, I love you all. Thank you so much for being here on my first live stream. When I end this, I am going to do my utmost to upload it properly. Okay. And I hope to be able to give you more notice in the future. I look forward to seeing you all very soon. Have a marvelous rest of your weekend and take care. Thank you for being here. Bye bye.